For 14 years I was the woman who kept the vet clinic running, trained the new staff and held everything together on the hard days, but the new owner cut my pay by 40% and called it business. I left quietly and then the truth about the clinic came out for everyone to see. The day the new owner laid a printed sheet in front of me and said my salary was being cut by 40%, it was 7:12 in the morning, and my coffee had gone so cold that a thin skin had formed across the top. I saw my name at the bottom of that page, then looked through the glass door at a golden Labrador in the treatment room, slowly waking up from anesthesia, and I understood right away that he had not just cut my pay, he had cut through the spine of the entire clinic. My name is Claire Bennett. I am 41 years old. I had worked for 14 years at a small but busy veterinary clinic in Phoenix, Arizona. When I started there, my daughter was in middle school. By the time I left, she was in her second year of college. In those years, I handled the front desk, surgery days, angry clients, new hires, weekend emergencies, inventory, even the gaps in payroll when accounting ran late. My job title changed more than once. Sometimes I was the lead tech, sometimes the operations coordinator, sometimes the practice manager. The truth is, no matter what the title said, keeping the clinic running usually landed on me. The old owner, Dr. Howard Pike, was not a perfect man, but he knew the value of things. He was 68, he walked slowly, and when he got tired he would sit in his office and eat peanut butter crackers. His decision to retire did not come out of nowhere. For the previous 2 years he had been saying he wanted to move somewhere quiet near Flagstaff. When he told us the clinic had been sold, we were all standing in the break room. Kylie immediately asked, "Are we keeping our jobs?" Dr. Pike said, "Of course. The new owner wants continuity." I did not say anything then. Continuity always sounds good on paper. In real life, people do not want continuity. They want control. The new owner was Evan Mercer. He was maybe 34 or 35. Crisp shirts, an expensive watch, white sneakers that looked too clean for a clinic floor. He did not have a veterinary degree. He called himself a businessman. In his first meeting with all of us he said, "This place has heart but it's leaking money." Then he drew arrows on the whiteboard and wrote overhead, optimization, labor efficiency. We all sat there and watched. Then he looked at me and said, "Claire, you've basically been holding this whole thing together." People laughed. I did not. Comments like that are usually not compliments. They are warnings. For the first 2 weeks he mostly watched. Or pretended to. He would stand behind the front desk. He would peek into exam rooms for 30 seconds at a time. He had reports printed out from the software and circled numbers with a pen. Then he started giving me separate tasks. Can you train the 2 new receptionists? Can you redo the controlled substance log format? Can you cover Saturday because Julia quit? Can you stay late and help me understand the supplier contracts? I kept doing it same as always. Because animals do not care who owns the place. They need their meds on time. Their stitches need to be checked on time. You cannot give insulin to a diabetic cat according to an MBA slide. That morning he called me into his office. It was the same office where Dr. Pike used to sit, except now instead of peanut butter crackers, there was a big glass jar full of protein bars. He told me to sit down. There was a blue folder on the desk. He opened it, turned a paper toward me and said, "I've reviewed compensation across the clinic. Your current pay structure isn't aligned with market reality. I'm reducing it by 40% effective next pay period." I picked up the paper. For 1 second I thought maybe I had heard him wrong. Then I looked down at the numbers. No. I had heard him exactly right. I asked, "You're cutting 40% from the person doing 3 jobs?" He leaned back in his chair like he was about to deliver a line he had practiced. "I'm standardizing roles. If you want to keep your job, you'll focus on a narrower scope. We can't run an emotional business model." I said, "This is not an emotional business model. This is licensed work, trained work, and all the stuff you don't notice because it gets done before you walk in." He did not smile, but he had that same look people get when they think an Excel sheet is bigger than human experience. He said, "A business can't be held hostage by one employee." I folded the paper, opened it again, then smoothed it out and laid it back on the desk. "Hostage." That was all I said. "Don't make this personal, Claire." I stood up. "It's already personal. You made sure of that." Then I walked out. The hallway smelled like bleach and wet fur. Kylie, who was at the front desk, knew right away that something had happened. She did not ask questions. She just picked up my coffee from the cup holder and handed it to me. I took one sip. It really had gone cold. I did not make a scene that day. I did not raise my voice. I did not gather people around me. I checked the treatment board, made sure the surgeries were wrapped up, trimmed the nails on a nervous beagle, explained a cat's kidney values to an elderly couple, and during lunch I sat in my car and pulled up the insurance portal. My gas tank was below a quarter. In the glove compartment there were 2 old napkins and a cracked tube of lip balm. I started writing a resignation letter, then deleted it, then wrote it again. 2 lines were enough. Effective immediately, I resign. I will not continue under the revised compensation terms. I printed it, signed it, and set it on Evan's desk at 4:09 that afternoon. He looked at the letter and said, "You're being impulsive." I said, "No. I'm being accurate. Think about what you're giving up." I looked at him. "You think this place was mine to give up? It was yours the second you bought it. Now you can run it." He softened his tone then, like he was trying to close a deal. "Let's be reasonable. Maybe we revisit this in 90 days. I shook my head. "You already told me what you think I'm worth." I went to my locker. 2 spare scrub tops, a black hoodie, half-used hand lotion, and the small notebook where I wrote down fridge temperatures, late shipments, and all the little things the system never fully captured. Julia, the surgery tech, came over and said quietly, "Did he do what I think he did?" I nodded. Her eyes widened. "Claire, he's insane." I said, "Maybe. But he's in charge now." She asked, "What are you going to do?" I said, "I'm leaving." When I stepped out into the parking lot, the Arizona heat was still hard, even that late in the day. Heat was rising off the asphalt. The moment I started my car, the low washer fluid light came on. And all at once I realized I had not taken a real day off for myself in 2 months. That thought did not make me laugh. I just sat there. When I got home, I set my badge on the kitchen counter and, for the first time, saw the whole situation in a straight line. Evan's problem was not my salary. His problem was the kind of value he could not measure. In the previous few weeks, there had been several things that seemed separate at the time, but now they formed a pattern. When supplier invoices did not match, he would say, "Just fix it." When controlled drug counts had to be exact down to the decimal, he would say, "No one cares about tiny discrepancies." When the X-ray badge renewals came up, he asked, "Do we really need to pay for all this every year?" When I updated the OSHA binder, he said, "Paper doesn't make medicine better." He never openly said that rules did not matter, but he treated every rule like an unnecessary extra unless somebody forced him to respect it. The next morning at 7, Kylie texted me, "He has no idea how to open the controlled log cabinet." Then another one, "He asked me for your password." I texted back, "Don't give anyone my credentials. Ever." 5 minutes later, another text came in, "He's mad." I set my phone on the table. Then I did what I needed to do, slowly and without noise. First, I called the state pharmacy compliance line and told them I was no longer the designated inventory custodian, so my access and responsibility needed to be terminated immediately. They emailed me a form. I filled it out and sent it back. Then I called the radiology vendor and told them to remove my name from the listed safety oversight. Then I notified the controlled waste pickup company that the clinic would need to provide a new authorized contact for future pickups. Then I emailed the lab reps to let them know that any sign-offs would no longer come through me. After that, I logged into the HR portal and updated my emergency contact information. I did not remove my direct deposit because my final paycheck still had to come through, but I did file notice that my electronic approvals were not to be used for anything going forward. I did nothing wrong. I simply shut down everything that had been resting on my name, my license, my training hours, and all the unpaid daily fixes I had been carrying. By noon I already had 3 messages. Julia, he scheduled surgeries without enough staff. Kylie, he told me to tell clients the wait times are normal. Marco, who handled the kennel side, the food order didn't go through because he changed the supplier account. I gave them sympathy, not instructions. I was not going back in there to play hero. And I was not going to be the idiot who got insulted and then still provided free damage control. On the 3rd day, Evan called me. I was at the grocery store, not Costco, just the neighborhood Fry's. I was standing in the pet aisle because I had this habit of checking cat litter prices even when I did not need to buy any. He said, "Claire, we have a few loose ends." I did not say anything. Then he said, "Where is the master surgery prep list?" I told him, "Shared drive." He said, "Not the updated one." I said, "If the update was in my head, it left with me." He went quiet for a second. Then he said, "That's not professional." I pushed my cart forward and said, "Was a 40% cut professional?" He hung up. That same evening, Julia told me a client complaint had made it into a public Facebook group. A woman's senior dog had its dental procedure delayed because the pre-op blood work had not been entered correctly. The next day there was another complaint saying vaccine records had been printed wrong. Then someone wrote that nobody was answering the phones. Then somebody else said a medication refill had been promised but was not actually ready. These were small cracks, but people had started to see them. A week later I got an email from the Labor Department. Not about me. One of the current employees had filed a wage and hour complaint, and the investigator had listed my name as a former operations contact. I called back. I gave factual answers only: how schedules had actually been maintained, how overtime was recorded, how often meal breaks were missed in reality, and what kind of off-the-clock work several of us, including me, had done just to keep the clinic functioning. I did not make a speech. They asked questions. I answered them. 2 days after that, the State Veterinary Board sent what they called a routine compliance inquiry. Maybe it was routine officially, but the timing was interesting. They wanted to know about recent changes in surgery supervision, controlled substance custody, and staff training documentation. I told them the truth and nothing else. I resigned. My responsibilities ended on that date. The clinic must identify current responsible personnel. That was it. Then the thing happened that Evan probably never expected. One Friday, 2 inspectors showed up at the clinic. I was not there, but that evening Marco sent me a photo of the parking lot. 2 unmarked county vehicles were parked outside. The caption only said, "You didn't hear this from me." The next Monday the clinic did not close, but the hours were cut in half. Elective procedures were temporarily suspended. The controlled medications cabinet was placed under review. Refrigerator monitoring logs were found incomplete. The radiology badge records were not current. 2 staff files were missing signatures. On the payroll side, the break and overtime discrepancies were being looked at separately. None of that had been created in a single day. Those systems had always been fragile. The difference was that before I filled every gap. I corrected the clipboards. I chased people down. I placed the orders. I reconciled the numbers. When I stepped away, the truth stayed the same. It just became visible. Evan tried damage control. He posted a polished statement on social media. Sunridge Animal Care is undergoing a planned operational transition as we modernize systems. Planned operational transition. I picked up my phone, read it, and put it back down. I did not need to answer it. The comments answered it for me. Former clients wrote about wait times, missed callbacks, medication errors, and constant staff turnover. A local rescue coordinator said she was putting adoptions on hold with the clinic until stability returned. Julia finally resigned. Kylie put in her 2 weeks too. Then Dr. Pike's former associate, Dr. Melissa Chong, who still worked part-time as relief coverage, spoke openly about how the support systems had collapsed. After that, Evan's polished statement did not matter much. 2 weeks later, Evan called me one last time. This time his voice was tight. He said, "You've made this difficult." I was sitting on my porch. It was early evening. A kid on the street in front of my house was riding a scooter with his helmet on backward. I said, "No." I stopped making it easy. He said, "You could have helped with the transition." I said, "I trained staff. I built systems. I covered shortages. I stayed late. I fixed mistakes that weren't mine. 14 years was your transition." Then he said what I think he had believed from the beginning. "You were overpaid for what this clinic actually needs." I stayed quiet for a long moment. Then I said, "If that were true, it would still be working." He hung up. By the end of the month, the clinic had stopped taking walk-ins. Surgeries were limited. The payroll investigation was still open. One rescue contract had been officially suspended. Then the rumors started that Evan was looking for a buyer or maybe a management partner. I do not deal in rumors, but one thing was confirmed. His version of optimization had started collapsing under its own weight. It was not all easy for me either. I did not take a new job right away. During the first week after leaving, I kept waking up every morning at 6, like I still had the opening shift. I would stand in my kitchen making coffee, then remember I had nowhere to go. The silence felt strange. My hands would drift toward my phone like I still needed to text in a fridge temperature or remind somebody about a supplier order. Then I would stop myself. I cleaned out the shelves in my garage, looked through old boxes that belonged to my daughter, donated my extra scrubs and updated my resume. When I wrote out my job history, I saw it clearly for the first time. I had not just been surviving in one place all those years. I had been carrying it on my shoulders. A month later, I got an offer from a specialty animal hospital in Scottsdale. The title was clear. The pay was better. The benefits were spelled out. The responsibilities were written down. During the interview, the medical director asked me, "What kind of environment are you looking for?" I said, "One where competence isn't treated like free labor." He gave me a small smile and said, "That's fair." I took the job. Even now, every once in a while I drive past Sunridge. The sign is still there, but the parking lot is never as full as it used to be. The cheerful decals on the windows have started peeling up at the corners. Once while I was stopped at a traffic light, I saw some new young guy at the front desk trying to manage 2 phone lines at the same time. I drove on. I never made a public post. I never gave a revenge speech. I never rallied people. I just took my work with me, removed my name from the weight of that place and let everybody else see for the first time what had actually been holding it up. For 14 years I kept that clinic alive through the hard days. The new owner thought he could cut my pay and fix things with numbers. In the end, the numbers were the thing that testified against him. And that no longer surprises me. Some places look solid only because a woman is quietly holding everything together. Then one day she quietly takes her hands off it. After that, the sound carries a long way.